My name is Susan Welton, Oracle Marketing Manager at Perficient, and I'm excited to be moderating today's webinar on how Western Alliance Bank is innovating with Oracle. We're very fortunate to have Andrew Boucher and Val Hafalia with Western Alliance Bank on the phone with us. We've got Shiv Barty, Practice Director at Perficient, and Mitch Campbell with Oracle, all on the call today to share their experiences and expertise with you. I'll be introducing today's speakers. Then I'm going to hand it over to Shiv, who's going to talk a little bit about Perficient, and he'll address Western Alliance PBCS integration with BICS. Then we'll hand it over to Andrew, who will speak to Western Alliance Bank, and he's also going to have Val chime in and share some of his knowledge and experience with regard to the dashboards that they're using. Then we're going to follow up with Mitch, who will wrap up with Oracle Analytics Cloud, and then we'll have a Q&A session, time permitting. One thing I always like to mention about Q&A is that questions do arise throughout the event, and when they do, just go ahead and jot those questions down in the Q&A tab that you'll see in the event meeting window. It's easy to forget those questions as you get toward the end of the event, so go ahead and jot those down at any point in time, and we'll address those at the end of today's event. So without further delay, I'd like to introduce today's speakers, Andrew Boucher, Shiv Barty, and Mitch Campbell. Andrew has more than 30 years of experience in the financial services industry, primarily in the areas of finance and risk management. Specific areas of expertise include strategic planning, M&A, FP&A, asset liability management, capital markets, and accounting. Shiv is the Director of Perficient's Oracle Business Intelligence practice. Shiv has successfully led the implementation of more than 75 Oracle BI and custom data warehouse projects and has helped countless clients across industries implement BI solutions to drive value from their business technology investments. Mitch focuses on Oracle Analytics Cloud enablement for the Global Cloud Analytics Product Group. He has over 19 years of experience in business intelligence and EPM between Hyperion and Oracle, and his industry expertise includes finance, consulting, investments, retail, and banking. Welcome, speakers. Shiv, go ahead and take it away.
Thanks, Susan. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. Let me start by quickly introducing you to Perficient. So we are a national IT and management consulting firm. We are a publicly listed company with a revenue of about $500 million. We have 23 offices across North America with global delivery centers in India and China. We have over 3,000 employees, and one of the things to highlight about Perficient is about 95% of our revenue comes from recurring clients, and that is because we produce results. We are an Oracle Platinum partner, also a Cloud Select partner. We have dedicated pillars for Oracle ERP, Business Intelligence, Enterprise Performance Management, and Customer Relationship, and we have collectively deployed over 3,000 plus Oracle projects. Our Oracle BI practice has over 14 plus years of experience deploying Oracle Analytics product stack. Very similar to my own background, I would say 65 to 70% of our consultants come from Siebel Oracle product development. Over the last 3 years or so, our team has developed numerous pre-built solutions on Oracle BI Cloud Service Platform to simplify analytics for our customers migrating to Oracle Analytics Cloud. This includes pre-built solutions for finance, sales, marketing, HR, and service, which leverages Oracle's BI applications methodology. We're also one of the first partners to take our customers live on Oracle Cloud platforms. So before I talk about the Cloud Business Intelligence best practices, there is one quick polling question for the audience, which we would like your input in. So what are your plans for adopting Cloud for Business Intelligence and data management? Are you already in production, currently in the process of evaluating, so maybe you are in dev and test and still thinking about going live based on the success, or you're planning to go live sometime in 2018, In some cases, you may be 2 or 3 years away. That means you're happy with your on-premise, but you're still thinking about because a lot of customers are starting to adopt cloud platforms. And lastly, there is no plan as of right now. So those are your options. So it looks like majority of the audience here are 2 to 3 years away. So this would be a good content to really get a sense of how Western Alliance is starting to adopt and use the Cloud Business Intelligence platform. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the best practices to consider when deploying Cloud Business Intelligence solutions. If you are an existing on-premise Oracle BI customer, you might want to think about doing a lift and shift. You might want to break that down into separate components. First, move the on-premise OBIEE to Oracle Analytics Cloud while retaining the on-premise data warehouse and ETL jobs. Next, move your data warehouse to the cloud, and then finally move the ETL jobs to the cloud, at which point you'll have completely moved from on-premise to Oracle Cloud Analytics Platform. If you don't already have a modern analytics platform and have chosen Oracle Cloud to move away from your legacy reporting platform, consider rolling out data visualization initially, which puts significant power in the hands of your business users, simplifying the process to connect, massage, and build different visualization with minimal to no support from IT. At the same time, this is really going to facilitate user adoption of a new platform. Next, think about a prioritized list of KPIs for your business for a new analytics project before starting out, and leverage the pre-built content that is already out there for different industries and different departments that partners like Perficient have already built. This will significantly reduce your implementation time and deployment risks. Now, there are several benefits of integrating planning and budgeting cloud service with your cloud analytics platform like BI Cloud Service or OAC. First of all, business users are going to be able to come to one reporting platform and get all the insights they need to make critical business decisions, and get a consolidated view of their actuals, budget, and forecast all in a single report. They can drill down from a summary report to the detailed report showing various ERP transactions. This level of interaction can be very helpful when trying to reconcile between multiple applications. Also, other commonly desired capabilities like comparative analysis of different scenarios, inheriting user security, and data restrictions, mobile access can be achieved by integrating these separate cloud applications. As I mentioned earlier, one of the best practices to consider is to leverage the pre-built content that already exists for your industry and for the department that you are considering rolling this out. At Perficient, we have a pre-built financial analytics on BICS and OAC, which comes with an integration templates, data models, pre-built metrics, dashboards, and reports, which are relevant to customers across different industries. Once again, there is tremendous value in using the pre-built data models and content in terms of accelerating the time to implement and lowering your overall total cost of ownership. So with that, let me go ahead and turn it over to Andrew to talk about the Western Alliance story. Andrew, please take it away.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. I thought I would start out by kind of giving you a little background on Western Alliance and then our journey to the cloud and some of the good stuff that we're doing a little down the road. We'll have Val jump in and show that to us. So for those of you who are not familiar with Western Alliance Bancorporation, we are we're a fastly growing financial institution down here, primarily with footprints in the Southwest, but also some nationwide business lines. We have over $20 billion in assets, probably about 1,700 employees. We're definitely one of the top performing banking companies because if you look at the last bullet there, we ranked number 2 in Forbes 2018 Best Banks in America's list. We've actually seemed to come up 2 notches every year. A couple years ago we were 6, last year we were 4, now we're up to 2. I think we've only got 1 more to go to be the top dog. largely because of our profitability and our attendance to credit quality and the quality of our earnings is one of the biggest reasons we're there. We offer business banking services in the Arizona, Nevada, and California region. It's primarily providing credit and treasury management solutions. Credit is various structured loans. Treasury management is the ability for those folks to put their deposits with us and manage their cash and day-to-day transactions with us. We are primarily a business bank. We don't do much in the consumer space, but this is where we get most of our success. We've also expanded, leveraged a lot of our specialized banking solutions across the country to become more nationalized. So these are all contributing factors as to why we've become a very successful, very profitable bank and why we rank number 2. Now, I've been with the bank for just a little over 5 years, started back in September 2012. And back at that time, we had 3 separate financial institutions, we had 3 separate chartered banks back in 2012. And we decided at the end of the year 2013 to save regulatory costs to consolidate our 3 charters into one banking charter. And in the past, I started running the FP&A group when I joined. Most of our profitability was looking at the bank levels. We have our branded banks are Torrey Pines and Bank of Nevada and Alliance Bank of Arizona. Those were basically how we planned and measured performance just by the bank level. When we consolidated charters, we decided to look at our business in a very different way, to look at it more on a segmented basis for specialty product lines and for regional product lines. And what we had to do then was expand our code. We first had to change to our general ledger and expand the code block so we can measure these business units. And we needed a new tool for planning. Now, back then, I actually had Hyperion Enterprise, which was not supported. And when we consolidated the charters, we needed to get a solution so that we can look at the businesses by a segmented basis, do some transfer pricing, which is basically a banking term for how we look at profitability on the margin for a deposit versus a loan, and to allocate costs, something we've never done before. So we did, when we consolidated at the beginning of 2014, we actually were looking at Hyperion at the time for our planning tool, but there was no cloud version at that time. So it became a rather expensive proposition for us to go there, and there was a tool that came with the GL package that we used that we eventually found out was just not useful. So we had to quickly migrate to, by the way, 2013 was when we were evaluating these tools. 2014 is when we had to relook at these tools, and there was now the cloud version of Oracle out there. To give you a little background, I am a Hyperion person from back in the day that I worked with our credit card bank in Delaware. I loved Hyperion. I wanted to implement it in 2013. Too expensive, too costly, too time-consuming. And then when we got into 2014, the cloud version came out. So we were able to actually look at this new planning tool and migrate to it in the fall of 2014 and go live with PBCS in the beginning of 2015, and we still use that today. So PBCS gave us a whole look at a whole new view of profitability at a rather inexpensive implementation. We actually implemented it in 3 months with very little IT resources, and we were able to just get us up to a distributed reporting and planning system very quickly. So it became a very useful tool to evaluate performance. But what that did for us is it actually created more questions than we could answer. So when we look at profitability, it was great for budgeting and profitability and trending, but the CFO, Dale Gibbons, was looking for a lot more granular detail supporting these lines, being able to go into specific transactions, especially with what loans we were boarding and what yields, what are running off and what yields, so we can understand the change of one of our profitability lines, which is the net interest margin. Not something you can do in a multidimensional database we had in the cloud. So we decided to look at other options to be able to do drills into much more transactional level detail. So we needed a true analytics platform to look at our KPIs. Now, key performance indicators for banking is stuff surrounding around the margin, for example, how we're pricing loans, how we're pricing deposits. But also on the expenses side, what does it cost to process transactions? Who's processing them? So on and so forth. Can we look at the efficiency and effectiveness of our operations? So we decided to choose BICS, and this is we went through a bake-off. I guess it was the late 2015, if I recall. to look at various products to do that. We were looking at Tableau. We also had an on-prem SaaS that we could look at. But we decided to go with BICS and engage Perficient because this is a way of like porting over our profitability system, which is basically PBCS, our top-line profitability, and merge it into being able to get information out of our data warehouse and look at the underlying drivers of those profitability. We love its data modeling capabilities. By the way, I give you an example. When we were going through this, we were actually doing a major core conversion. And the core conversion, we were going from one core system to the other. The new core system was taking transactions going forward. We converted in October 2015. I believe it was 16. I'm trying to remember. It was 2016. And then we have to get all our back transactions from the previous core. With BICS, we could basically join the two through a data model. We love the data analysis and visualization capabilities. It had really great dashboarding capabilities and the ability that you can distribute the reporting and these dashboards. So what we liked about BICS was we were already on the cloud with PBCS. We wanted to be able to integrate a lot of our warehouse information and be able to join it with these profitability measures so that we can go sort of a kind of a drill into what's driving our profitability, and BICS seemed to be the right solution for us. On-premise, we had a lot of challenges going on-premise because we were growing rapidly, both organic and through acquisition, and we had multiple core and subledger systems. Before we went to BICS, we did a lot of reconciliation of different data sources, and whatever we wanted to implement, we had to do at a very cost-efficient way. So those were constraints because of corporate philosophy around low expense growth. So those were the challenges of staying on-prem. This is why we went to the cloud with PBCS, why it made sense for us to go to the cloud with BICS. And this is just something that we found this was the best route to go. So I'm going to go to the next slide. Is basically the reason that the BICS application provided us with the ability to join disparate data sources into a singular version of the truth, which is basically the goal. So when we put together the proposal here for BICS, we have various source systems that we have to pull together in some sort of central provisioning here in the green box, which is something we're working on right now. So they can go down the path of both your financial accounting, portfolio management type tracks, which is basically looking at profitability by portfolio or basically by lender or by relationship manager. We obviously have to do forecasting and planning, and then risk and regulatory reporting. To give you a little background, I started with the FP&A group. I recently have left the FP&A group and am now going into the risk and regulatory reporting side. I'm now VP of market risk. So that's an AL, or asset liability management discipline that looks at a lot of risk with regards to change of market forces and what it does to our profitability. So I'm no longer in the FP&A space. Val Hafalia has taken over my role in planning and forecasting, so he's basically running the PBCS tool right now. And also, as you can see, the way this proposed architecture is, we can somehow feed it into an integrated performance reporting, which is right now we're proposing to be BICS. So this is what we did when we implemented BICS was I did a presentation of the data model to our chief operating officer, our CIO, and our CFO about the potential of BICS, and ran through this proposed architecture. And we're in the process now of building out this architecture. So we're still, even though we have PBCS and BICS sort of online right now, most of the data that we're using here comes through the PBCS channel, and we're trying to fill up BICS with other types of sources of information that I know Val's working on right now. So that's sort of how we went to the cloud. Give a little, Perficient got us up and running with a lot of the PBCS information, the dashboarding, and a lot of the ETL tools that we needed to do the data. So that was very helpful for us. I'm going to turn this now over to Val to kind of go over what did we learn and then some of the stuff that we're doing with the BICS tool today. So Val, you got this?
Yes, I do. Thanks a lot, Andrew. Good afternoon, everyone. Some of the lessons we learned by going through this integration process with the BI tool was that Oracle BI kind of allowed us to be sort of data source agnostic. One of the problems with Western Alliance Bank is we grew fairly rapidly, fairly quickly, and some of our growth was through acquisition. So merging all of those disparate data systems, we're still in the process of doing. So we needed a tool to sort of be agnostic as to where the data came from. We currently don't have an enterprise data warehouse system, but the BI tool sort of frees us from that chain. We don't necessarily need one. If we have an enterprise data warehouse, great. If not, we will take data directly from whatever core subsystems are out there. We've made extensive use of Oracle's ETL tool. It's called Data Sync, to basically automate all of the data uploads. So when users log in the morning, they have the latest and greatest information. We update daily, once a day. Scripts run automatically at night, and we take a look at information on a daily basis. Prior to BICS, we would update PBCS really on a monthly basis. The BI tool allowed us to make our data architecture somewhat flexible. So our primary source of data is PBCS. There's a loan and deposit data warehouse that we pull information from. There are various other sources that we pull information from. We segregate these sources into buckets that we call subject areas. Now, we can report just on the single subject area alone, or we can make links between the subject areas to provide greater in-depth reporting. For example, we can tie transactional level data, non-financial metrics to financial metrics now. So the BI tool allows us to have somewhat of a flexible architecture. And probably the biggest lesson that we learned was, and Andrew sort of touched on this, we had a core platform conversion midway through the process. So we had our old data set that we'd report on, and then we converted to a new platform. So we had a new data set, and some of the reports that we had constructed in the old data set were giving strange results in the new data set. I'll give you an example. We do reporting on branch statistics, basically how well each branch is performing in terms of number of transactions, in terms of staffing, hours, et cetera. And under the new core platform, we noticed using the same report that one of our tellers was basically going to every branch and doing all the work. The teller's name was null. So that alerted us to the fact that some of the conversion into the new core platform wasn't quite correct. And that sort of kicked off a very big corporate-wide project to take a look at the underlying data structure and actually to build out a real enterprise data warehouse. And we were kind of the source for that. To give you guidance on your journey for adopting some sort of business intelligence tool, BICS is fantastic. It's the one that sort of won out. I was more leaning towards Tableau myself because that's what I'd used at Chase. But BICS ends up being a fantastic tool. But any tool you choose is only going to be as good as you make it. Good design protocol, a relentless customer focus, finding out what they want, knowing who the target audience is, and of course, underlying knowledge of the data set makes for great products. Okay, so how did we start building our corporate dashboard? Well, what do you really need? And we have to answer the questions what, where, who, and how. The what, where, and who are basically identifying what the key data sources are, gathering the data requirements, what do people want to see, and again, understand your target audience, and there may be several target audiences. For example, here at Western Alliance, one of our target audiences are the C-level executives. For those users, we present limited financial data. They really want to see graphically what's going on with the business. For power users, we give access to a lot more of the underlying transactions so they can build their own analysis and do their own drill-throughs. The how, I mentioned before, we use ETL to load data. We've got this flexible architecture that we came up with. And the how is building the data set, building the grids, building the dashboards, building the analysis to present a story. And the story is not always finished. The story is ever changing. We use phrases like iterative agile methodology, and all that really means is that it's a continuous process. So our dashboards are really under refinement all the time. As feedback comes in, we update, we change, we make adjustments. So it's once you design it, it's not always set in stone. It's something that changes per the time and the audience. So how did we decide on our dashboard? We wanted to get away from our typical reporting. Now, we're a bank, and as financial institutions, a lot of our reporting is very columnar, row-based, right? It looks like a grid. There's a lot of data. Usually the fonts are very tiny. There's probably 12, 13 columns and 120 rows. I'm sure you've seen reports like that. We wanted to get away from that. And to get away from that, we wanted to focus in on what the most important elements of our business were. And for a bank, it's revenue drivers. We make our money through loans and deposits. Also, we want to keep a lid on expenses. So we want to measure the efficiency of our business, which is really just the ratio of expenses to revenues. And we want the ability to take a look at the expenses to make sure that they're sort of in line with our budgets and forecasts and what we expect the business to be spending. Another area of importance for banks is what we call asset quality, basically how good or bad your assets are to total. And this is the dashboard we came up with. If you take a look at it, it's very summarized information, but it's very powerful. The top part sort of documents just the most important metrics of our business: our loan position, our deposit position. Here, this is $14.5 billion of loans, $16.9 billion of deposits. PPNR is pre-provision net revenue. It's a revenue measurement. That's in millions of dollars. NIM is what's known as net interest margin, basically how much your assets are earning. We earned 4.49% in the month of September. Efficiency is the ratio of expenses to revenue. Another way of looking at it would be to say, for every dollar, we spent 40.5 cents on expenses, and we kept the rest. NPAs are non-performing assets. Here, this value, $84 million, is relative to the $14.6 billion all the way over to the left. And of course, EPS is earnings per share. So decision makers on one row of data can get an instant snapshot of how the bank is doing. Below that, we set up two areas of interest. One is a summary of the loan portfolio by division. And this is columnar data, so it has loan position, and it has the year-to-date growth right next to it. There's a tree diagram to the right, which kind of shows, low to high, what their month-to-date growth was via the prior month. And of course, there are filters, and you could change the timing to quarter to date, year to date. You could change the months to whatever. If you take a look at the top, this is sort of the landing page. We also built out the story in terms of the important areas of the business. There's a tab for loans, there's a tab for deposits, there's a tab for efficiency and expenses, and there's a tab for asset quality. And I'll briefly go through this. This is our loan tab, and you can take a look at loans and the yield, how much we're making on the loans over time, who the divisions are, and over time, have they changed their relative position to the total. Similarly, for deposits, a couple of things are interesting here for banks. We isolated one product set, DDAs, demand deposit accounts, and then we integrated how much revenue was being generated by these demand deposit accounts by division. A deeper look at deposits are very similar to loans in terms of product set and the relative percentage of the product set to total. So we can tell what products are driving our revenues. Efficiency, once again, speaks to how efficient we are in terms of making money. And here we have direct expenses, allocated expenses or indirects, and then revenue and the efficiency percentage. And to the right is a simple bar graph that takes a look at the revenue and the efficiency over time. Of course, we have filters for days as well. And we broke that one further to take a look at expenses. Here, this is a drill down where we allow the users to isolate particular divisions on the left, and we also allow them to isolate particular expense categories. Here we're taking a look at salaries and benefits, but that's a drill down. We can take a look at any expense category we have there. And finally, asset quality is sort of a measurement of how well what the bad assets are to the good assets, essentially. And we take a look at various things like accruing assets, non-performing loans, OREO loans, loans that are adversely graded, and the NPAs and non-performing assets to the total assets. With that, I think I'll turn this back over to Shiv or probably to Mitch.
Yeah, this is Mitch Campbell with Oracle. So really appreciate seeing that because it's always interesting to see how people are leveraging our products and how the cloud has kind of made it an easier solution for getting things done, to be quite simple. And what we wanted to do is step back now and kind of relate how we've progressed from a cloud platform so you can see how things are, what they're made of, and what our plans are as we talk more about what Oracle offers in the cloud. So the first one we want to talk about who leverages the platform, because you saw a few examples and you saw some of the dashboarding capabilities, but there's a lot more to it. There's more opportunity for growth, opportunity for different styles of analytical reporting when you're leveraging the Oracle Analytics Cloud. And it starts with looking at who can we deliver as a consumer, who's going to need what type of analytics. So we wanted to look at who specifically would be benefiting by utilizing the Oracle Analytics Cloud. And of course, there's always the need to look at the analysts and people who are in charge of the data or the data stewards and their job. They want to be able to do things like transforming and enriching the data, but not in the same way they've done it for 10 years. They want that to be faster. They want to be able to improve data sets simply and easily, and that's a key area of focus for what we're building into the Analytic Cloud. They need to do things faster, and then it needs to be easy to share and collaborate with databases. Second group, of course, is those consumers, the business users, the people who really just need to get at the information quickly and easily. There's a big push towards being able to be self-controlled and being able to be enabled to do your own things. So they have to be able to get at the data they need in a timely manner. It needs to be proactive. They need to be able to ask questions and not just see the results, but potentially even change a driver and do some what-if analysis or do some forecasting and things like that. That interface needs to be simplified as well. And it needs to go beyond what they're typically used to. So we want business users to have an experience that lets them do more. And third, of course, are the people who are in charge of developing and improving those systems. It needs to be, again, something that's easier and faster than they've done previously. And if they need to customize it, it should be simple to do that. It shouldn't be a large monumental task to make changes, to update, etc. And then a lot of our customers decide that they want to have these types of analytics embedded in different interfaces, whether it's a SaaS interface, whether it's their own custom web consumption portal or something like that. So all of those pieces needs to be addressed. So we want to make sure that what we're doing addresses all styles of users. And as such, we have different editions, if you will, of the Oracle Analytics Cloud. Now, what you saw from Western Alliance was the BI Cloud Service and the screenshots that he showed. That's very much the standardized dashboard component that's easy to create, easy to use, and just kind of gives you a good kind of established group of reports that are guided analytics. There's also data visualization for that more ad hoc, free-form, really fast, really easy Tableau-style reporting as well. And that's part of the same platform, and it's in all of these. It's kind of like reading the back of a TurboTax box, if you will, because the Standard Edition has several of the major components, and then Data Lake is a little bit more, and then Enterprise includes both of the two below it. So as you see, data discovery, data preparation, visualization capabilities, desktop access, as well as mobile and even multidimensional analytics with Essbase are part of the Standard Edition. If you step up and you know you need to leverage more than just your standard warehouse sources or Essbase, for instance, then you might be looking at how you can do things with a big data source. And the Data Lake Edition helps you do all data sets. So you then could bring in Impala data, or you could bring in Cloudera, MapR, Hortonworks, other sets of data that you need to bring into the same interface that you're leveraging. And that's what a lot of organizations are looking to do, but it takes a lot of money to get there. Having those enabled in the cloud means people can do data lakes simply by leveraging our infrastructure and merging that data with their already existing warehouse data or Excel data or what the case might be. So it can be much, much easier and faster to get started with a data lake if you're leveraging the analytics cloud. Of course, the top level is known as Enterprise Edition. It gives you the full control of what our customers would like to do in the cloud. It includes the exact interface and reports that you saw designed by Western Alliance and the BI Cloud Service. It also includes a no-authoring mobile experience that's cutting edge, and it's known as Day by Day, and it really is something that's simple. If you would like to know more about it, it's literally a mobile experience that lets you speak to the phone, and it will return visualizations to you, and then you can make changes and update it and share that, etc. So access to your data on a new form factor in a simple way. That's Day by Day. Of course, the high-end enterprise controls, full disaster recovery, and I'll also mention that, of course, it includes Essbase as well, because everything above, so all of the versions include Oracle's leading multidimensional analytic engine, which is the driver behind planning and budgeting. It's the driver behind anything that has ragged hierarchies, charts of accounts, dimensionality, etc. So Essbase is a key portion of what we deliver in the cloud. So if you look again at what you're getting, here are some examples of that data visualization component. So you've got high-end visualizations that are easy to create, really nice to include with narrations, so you can have an interactive data story, if you will, that takes you from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, the ability for end users to be self-empowered and change different visualizations in a very simple way. Tons of built-in visualizations, as well as the ability to scale that out and include third-party visualizations like D3 or anything else. And then anything you consume and you deliver in a browser can also be consumed and used on a mobile device, whether it's a phone form factor and you're looking at cards as you're doing your visual analysis, or a tablet, etc. So you need the capabilities across any of those consumption paradigms, but it needs to be simple and easy. So that's the visualization component. Of course, it wouldn't help if we only had a few bits of access that we come at, and if we said, well, you would only worked on Oracle data. That's not the case. We have 40-plus different connectors to lots of different data sources in many areas, and you can see how this has been broken up. On top is, of course, anything that's software as a service or platform as a service, starting with those bits of information that would come from the broad Oracle spectrum. So Finance Cloud, financials that are coming directly, Service Cloud, Marketing Cloud, etc., as well as other sources like Google Analytics and Salesforce and Dropbox and OneDrive. All need to be pieces that you might consume and leverage in Oracle Analytics. The second, of course, is databases, and that's all of the big ones, as well as some of the more cutting-edge and new data sources like Greenplum and Aster and others. So there's lots of pieces that you could get at. For a data lake or for getting at a combination where you're blending relational as well as big data sources, it might simply be Hadoop or Cassandra or Impala data. Hortonworks, MapR, I mentioned some of those earlier. So the same interface, the same creation capability, the same ease of use paradigm is there for any of these data sets. And if you have others that we don't have a direct connector for, of course we have the ability to pull in and extract from Excel or comma delimited or, of course, JDBC or ODBC. So it's all about having access and being able to enable end users to blend their own data and create those types of visualizations that they're needing. Also as part of this, and this is where we start to differ from someone who just said, okay, well, Oracle's doing visualizations. What we've added into the Analytics Cloud now is a very, very powerful first step that's known as data preparation or data flows, where you're bringing in those sets of data and you can look at them in column format like everyone's used to and concatenate and make changes and modify and change field names so you can do your own data preparation. Or you can look at them in a visual manner. And this screenshot is actually showing you a few of those options where it actually interrogates and looks at the data set and then presents you visualizations that show you where the majority of the intersections lie. So where is the groupings? Where do we see the intersections of the data in this specific source and which are the most popular fields? So it really gets you started into understanding the data that you're about to leverage. It's a huge change for what people have seen before, and it's shareable, and of course it's traceable. So it gets away from leveraging something like Excel as just your medium for receiving extracts and then pushing something out. There needs to be data flows that are reusable, that are simple to do grouping, et cetera, et cetera. The screenshot behind is actually showing a saved data flow where you're joining data sets. You then could save and persist and be able to share with others. So it makes it much, much easier to do some fairly complex things, bringing together 3 or 4 sources, for instance, and then sharing that and making it available for others to do their own analytics. So really, really empowering not just IT people, but power users and business users who might be consumers of this data. Back to the sources that might be coming directly from, say, Oracle SAS, is there's a ton of starter kits. I would call them content packs that help you understand data that's much more real-time, that's coming directly out of those systems. So if you're an Oracle Financials user, the Finance Cloud, and you want to have some financial manager dashboards that are already built, where all of the joining, if you will, all of the bringing together of the appropriate fields and building visualizations for revenue, for headcount, for cost management, et cetera, that type of content's already built. It's directly refreshable with that live transactional business intelligence connection to those Oracle sources. So all of the examples you see here, whether it's project management, sales, service, et cetera, are showing you how we have direct access via a role-based capability to those Oracle sources as well. So we've talked about lots of external. We've also talked about how you can leverage Oracle SAS data sources even better than before. Now here's where we start to go, again, a little bit beyond what you may have been, that you knew that Oracle could do. We've had a release recently, and with the cloud, it's a platform where we can really, really enhance things quickly. We've had 6 major releases in the last 10 months for the Oracle Analytics Cloud. And they're not forced upon you. It's a customer-managed solution with the Oracle Analytics Cloud where you can decide, okay, this is something that we need. Let's go ahead and put it into test and start working with it. Or you can say, you know what, that's not the one, we'll wait for the next. And so you're in control of when you take those updates, and it's simply a tick box and an apply when you're ready to test them before you put them into production. But we're also building into the platform things like AI and machine learning. So adaptive intelligence, artificial intelligence, machine learning capabilities like bringing in the capability to have natural language insights automatically written for you. So this is a screenshot of an example that I could show you in a video, or if you wanted to follow up with Oracle and see more, where you can have your visualization, and we know how much effort then a lot of analysts and business users start every month, where they describe what's going on in the visualization that they've written in their blue book, beige book, red book, whatever the case might be. Their reporting analytics then require a description. we now have the ability to not only look at those visualizations, but have filters automatically drive the text that goes alongside it. So you can create a line chart like this and then say, switch that, duplicate it to natural text. And that's the screenshot that it's showing you. Any filters you then apply, update the text that's automatically generated by the machine learning. It's simple to use. It's able to be customized and shared, and it supports multiple languages. So we're just really starting to get some really, really great features that help people do things better than they have before, leveraging the analytics cloud. And this piece is one of them. So natural language is machine learning that's built in with the Oracle Analytics Cloud. Another great example you've probably seen in a lot of demonstrations, or if you've seen Oracle Analytics recently, where we talk about the capability to do search queries. And you can ask the data set what's there. And the natural voice that I mentioned on mobile with Day by Day is an example of leveraging Ask, where you're saying, show me 2017 net interest margin comparison of Bank Segment 1 versus Bank Segment 2. And it could automatically generate that report for you. Well, that's assuming you know what to ask. The flip side of asking about the data source is leveraging what we do again with machine learning, which is interrogating the data and able to show you and explain the data that's been presented. So you can right-click on a member here, like attrition, and say, explain attrition in a single click. And Analytics Cloud automatically analyzes and explains it in 4 different sections. And it shows you basic facts. It shows you the key drivers of something like attrition. It shows you the segmentation of that data set. What are the major segments that it's broken into? And then exceptions and anomalies. And it's as simple as looking at any of those visualizations and hovering over them and ticking a checkbox next to it that then you can apply into your visualization. So it's literally explaining the information that you have in front of you and allowing you to get started faster and easier than ever before without having to understand the design. So it really makes it easier for power users, for business users, for anyone to start understanding the data that's presented to them when they're doing those types of analyses. So this explain capability in Analytics Cloud is a really great way that we're beginning to leverage AI and machine learning. Here's that day-by-day example again, just showing you a mobile phone where as you speak to it or as you simply do anything other kind of search, you can, of course, type in like you would with Google searching for ATMs within a 5-mile radius of where your car is. You could do the same thing with your analytics and be able to do a search control. So it's all built on how you would consume that information via a phone. There's also a piece from Oracle that's free known as Synopsys, which is an excellent mobile way to consume data from tables, like an Excel sheet, for instance, and being able to automatically design visualizations based on opening up that Excel sheet on your mobile device. So our capabilities on mobile have really, really skyrocketed, and day by day is one of the nicest bits of functionality that comes with Analytics Cloud. I mentioned Essbase before, and so here's an example of a visualization, just as I said, against any data source, and that includes those multidimensional databases like Essbase. So I have an Essbase report to the right where you can do the exact same things that people have built with Essbase on premises for years and now either lift and shift and run them in the cloud or build brand new in the cloud or let some of the great new functionality that OAC brings to bear with Cube Designer and with Data Prep, where you can join 2 sources and then drag out a box that says, now build Cube. And it automatically builds those things for you. So the whole process of prototyping and creating and modifying Essbase applications is vastly simplified with Oracle Analytics Cloud. And as I said, it's included when you're looking at any of the versions for Oracle Analytics. And that's your overview. So when you're considering what you saw today and how we are assisting our customers getting there, there's kind of a process that people go through, and sometimes it's a thought process and what they want to do, but what Shiv had talked about in the beginning is very, very realistic for how customers start getting there, whether they're ready to do it right now, they've already started, or they're a couple of years away. but they want more functionality. So they want to be able to connect to lots of data sources as an empowered end user. They want, the expectation is now, to be able to prepare and modify and clean up the data in a very simple way, whether it's true data blending, data wrangling, or it's simply just cleaning up some fields so it presents better in a tree map or a bar chart or something like that. They want interactivity. They want self-service data visualization, check, check, check. And then they want to be able to share that information and collaborate with others and put narratives on their visualizations and be able to have that type of control when they're doing things now in the cloud. So just kind of calling out in summary some of the key things that are different than what people have used in their BI interfaces before, and what we find that are really driving our customers to help adoption in the cloud when they're ready to make those moves. So that's my portion. And I think we're a little ahead, so we've saved some time for questions and answers. And what I'll do now is I'll pass it back to Susan, and if anyone has sparked some thoughts from what we showed you in any of the areas, just let us know who you'd like to ask the question to, or we can probably guess. But if you have questions, please feel free to ask them now to any of the presenters today. So Susan, back to you.
Thank you, Mitch. As Mitch mentioned, we're going to begin the Q&A portion of today's event. So if you haven't had an opportunity to ask your question yet, go ahead and type it in that Q&A tab at this time, and we'll get started with your questions. I do have a few people who have asked whether or not they can get a copy of the slides or a recording or link to today's event, and the answer to both of those questions is yes. We will definitely be sending all registrants for today's event a link to both the slides and the recording of today's event. So we'll have that available for you probably within 24 hours of today's event. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and get started with a few of the questions that have already come in. It looks like this one would be probably for Andrew or Val. Mohan wants to know, which other tools did you consider when evaluating a business analytics platform? Andrew, did you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll take that one. We went through several months of looking at various vendors prior to picking BICS. Tableau was under serious consideration. You may have heard Val has a little background in that one. He was kind of a fan of Tableau. We also had our in-house product of SAS. SAS was more of a statistical programming type, good for statistical analysis, but not really for some of the stuff that we needed to bridge together a lot of disparate data sources. Tableau was actually a very good tool to use in that space, so that was probably, they came in a very close second. We were actually going to look at Microsoft Power BI, but we were not on a platform that could run that right away. So those were the major tools. There were a few others that were kind of in the box, but we didn't actually see a demo or do anything like that. We chose Oracle largely because we were already on the cloud with PBCS, and when we spoke to Oracle how much we could bridge that with the data that we had in a multidimensional database, that we could bridge over to BICS and merge with the data sources on the relational database that we need to get in the warehouse. That just seemed to be the best solution for us, so that's why we went with Oracle.
Thank you, Andrew. We have another question here. This one's from David. He wants to know, and this is for either Andrew or Val, did you have KPIs documented when you set out to start the engagement?
With Perficient, yes. Actually, Perficient, when we did was they actually came in and they were very, very good at giving us a proof of concept. We wanted to actually prove to our executives that this is something we really want to take a hard look at. The initial KPIs were everything that Val showed you, which was basically pricing. When you talk about banking, a lot of it is basically pricing, the earnings and pricing and yields we have on the assets that we own versus the liabilities we pay on were key KPIs we wanted to do at the beginning of the engagement, as well as, Val was going through that top of the house profitability metric. Where do we earn money, right? How do we earn money? How efficient are we as far as expenses? That was that top dashboard he went through. And then some of our asset quality concerns, which is basically the quality of the assets. How much could we actually lose in principal? Those were the KPIs we defined with Perficient. And then I don't know, Val could probably jump in now because he's taken that to a level with regards to the efficiency side of it that we started to bridge after the engagement. So I don't know if you have anything to add to that. Val?
We've built out quite a lot more in terms of KPIs and other metrics that we look at. But for the evaluation phase, one of the more interesting things we did was we presented Perficient and a few other vendors actually with a set of data and a set of graphical representations that we felt very comfortable with. And they're very hard. They were very difficult graphs, waterfall graphs, double bar line graphs, that sort of thing, and ask them if they can basically duplicate it in the BI tool.
Thank you, Val. It looks like we have a question here, Mitch, that's probably best addressed by you. Bob says we're an existing OBIEE customer. Can you describe the path to migrate from on-premise to Oracle Analytics Cloud?
Yeah, there's a phrase that hopefully you've heard before, but we tend to discuss fairly frequently, which is simply known as lift and shift. With the more recent releases of OBIEE, we started including the ability to lift and shift everything from on-premises easily into the cloud with an archive file or bar file. So a BI archive or bar file is in existence. So if you have a more recent version of OBI, chances are you're going to be able to take advantage of doing that quickly and easily. So it might be as simple as getting a cloud instance operational, whether it's a trial or you've purchased and you've now provisioned and you're ready to get started. You can actually use that bar file and simply import, and it will take everything that you've designed, not just the RPD, not just the on-premises OBIE content, but also anything that's in the catalogs, all the visualizations, all the charts and graphs, and very quickly and easily move those directly to the cloud. The same can happen with Essbase applications. So if you're an Essbase user on premises, you can lift and shift with a command line simply your Essbase cubes directly to OAC Essbase Cloud. So I think we've spent a lot of time doing that homework behind the scenes to make it an easy process, and we've had a lot of customers try that out as they're starting to evaluate moving to the cloud. One of our biggest healthcare customers, Anthem Healthcare, did a lot of that. When they were looking at moving some of the content they've built on premises and moving it to the cloud, they simply used that process of lift and shift to get them started. Of course, everyone's data set's individual, and there may be certain things that you'd want to test, and you'd leverage someone like Perficient to make sure that you're managing the process of getting everything migrated efficiently and quickly. But we've made it easier than it ever has been before. So I think that's an area that we feel pretty strongly isn't the hardest part. I think people have a lot of heartburn from doing significant upgrades on premises over the last 10, 15 years, and that's been something that they usually have a big sigh and a dread of relief that took us 4 or 5 months, or man, that was so hard. It's simply not that hard in the cloud. So being able to move your content and getting back to tying out the numbers and seeing them in the cloud is much, much easier than it ever has been before. And then Val has pointed out there's some really nice tools like Data Sync that if you want to set up new connections or you want to go back to those other sources and maybe make additional data feeds into your system, it's really, really easy to do that as well.
Thank you, Mitch. So with that, we're going to go ahead and close today's portion of the Q&A section, but I'd like to go ahead and just mention that we do have a webinar that's coming up next month if it might be of interest. It's an Oracle Account Reconciliation Cloud Service Success Story. We will have Noble Energy that will be presenting with us on that particular event. Would love to have you join us for that. And if by chance you do have plans to attend Collaborate 18 in Las Vegas, which is coming up April 22nd through 26th, it'll be here before you know it. So please do stop by the Perficient booth if you have plans to attend that. We actually have 7 speaking sessions at that particular show this year, so a lot of different ways to connect with Perficient and our various experts at the show. And lastly, I just want to mention that it is a great pleasure to have had Western Alliance Bank, both Andrew Boucher and Val Hafalia on the phone with us today. We greatly appreciate your input and sharing your story with us on the call. And it goes without saying, Mitch, that your your expertise and lending your direction about where Oracle is taking the analytics products is just a great value to everyone to have heard directly from you what can be done today and what they can look forward to. And Shiv, as always, thank you for your input as well. So to all my presenters today, thank you for joining us. And to everyone on the call, thank you for joining us online, and we hope to see you online in the future.